Welcome to Vidyasri's Storytime. As you can see from the title below, today I'll be telling you a story about how I chopped my finger. Yeah, literally chopped my finger. So let's get into that story, shall we? It was on the 3rd of November when I chopped my finger. It wasn't a pleasant memory at all. It was a terrifying memory, and yeah, here in 2021, it falls a day before Diwali. So my family would usually have prayers for our ancestors. So since we are having these prayers at home, we had to prepare dinner for our relatives who are going to attend the prayers, right? So what happened that morning was that I woke up early and I started preparing for the dishes that we are about to cook. So thank you to my auntie, actually. She came in early and she helped me prepare for the meal as well. And if she's watching this video, thank you so much to her, and I have also caused a traumatizing memory for her. So my auntie, she came in early on that day. She also helped me to prepare for the meal that we are about to cook. So why we started off early is because we cook in a bigger volume and it takes up a lot of time to do that. Preparation is what takes a lot of time. So what my auntie was doing is she was in the dry kitchen and I was in the wet kitchen. So she was blending the flour for dosa while I was in the wet kitchen slicing chicken meat outside. I wasn't told to do that, but I decided to take up on me and do it in the wet kitchen. Yeah, so I was using a butcher knife to slice the chicken meat, and what happened was I was overwhelmed, I was tempted, and I was so excited with the sharpness of this butcher knife, because when I sliced one time, the meat was slaughtered into two. So one slice and the meat goes through. So that was really tempting for me, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna chop this meat because one slice two. So I was like, I got carried away and it wasn't safe, and I wasn't in the right mind because I was like so happy that hey, this knife is really sharp. So since that happened, because all my knife at home, when I slice something, it is like I need to put in effort to slice it, only then it slices things. But this butcher knife was like, it was amazing because when I slice it, it does the work. So yeah, since it does the work, I was so happy with it. So while slicing the meat, I showed my father the meat, and my father was like, hey, this is a little bit big, try to slice it smaller. So he thinks that I'm doing a safe game there. He trusted me, and me being an adult, he can trust me with knife, so that's what was in his mind. So I went back with the meat and put it on a chopping board. It didn't strike in my mind that I was actually holding the meat. So I was holding the meat, I took the butcher knife, one slice, and the knife slid from the skin to my finger. So yeah, so I sliced my finger. How did I slice my finger? How deep was it? It was really deep because it went through my flesh all the way to the nail. So I will give you a closer look on my finger. You can see that half of a small portion of it is still not recovered. It looks like my finger is not full and round. So I will insert the video inside here so that you can see that my finger is sliced. So what happened next after I sliced my finger? In my mind, I know that okay, thing is really serious because it's really deep. So what happened is my finger would have been detached if there wasn't a small portion of my flesh still there. because of the small portion, thank God, because of the small portion of flesh still remaining to my finger, the flesh didn't detach from my finger, so it is still there. So I went to the kitchen and I showed the finger to my father and my auntie, and I told that I chopped my finger, don't panic, give me an ice cube and give me a plastic bag. My father was shocked. He panicked and he was like, where's the ice cube, where is the plastic? And I was like pointing at the fridge and I was like, the ice cube is there, the plastic is here. So I was pointing and he's panicking, and my auntie was panicking as well. It was traumatizing for her, it was traumatizing for my dad, but I don't know how I had the strength, and I don't know how I was so brave. Yeah, I really don't know how I was so brave at that time. So my father gave me the ice cube and he didn't know what to do, and he gave me the ice cube and the plastic bag, and I put my finger inside, because you know when you watch movies, right, when the finger is detached, they put the finger into the ice cube thinking that it can be stitched and attached back to the hand. So yeah, I was influenced by the movie guiding them to do that. So what happened, I successfully put my finger into the plastic bag with ice cube, and then they brought me to the hall. They wanted to rush me to the clinic, but what they need was my IC. So they were asking me where's my purse and where's my IC and all this kind of thing to go to the clinic and register. So while they were doing that, I was sitting in the hall, I was sitting on the sofa, and I slowly was unconscious. So in my mind, I was totally conscious, and I was thinking that I'm already walking with my dad to the car. But but the truth is, I fainted, and my father was like, Tesri, and I woke up and I'm like, hey, I'm still at the hall. So I was because I was losing a lot of blood. The blood was like flowing waterfall. So it splattered on the wall, it splattered on the kitchen cabinet, it dripped like water flowing all the way from the wet kitchen to the dry kitchen to the hall. So the house was showered with my blood. So yeah, I was successfully brought into the car, and my brother was panicking. He drove really fast and he brought me to the clinic with my dad. And at that moment, I just want to sleep. Maybe because I lost a lot of blood, so I'm actually getting unconscious. So sleeping was really nice at the time, because in my mind was like, okay, sleep, and then when you wake up, everything will be fine. So I really want to sleep. So that is where I'm actually getting very unconscious. So I went to the clinic, and I was waiting for the doctor to see me. I was rushed to the emergency room. So I was waiting for the doctor. At that time, my stomach was really bothering me, and I really wanted to use the washroom. So the doctor came and he saw me, and I asked the doctor, can I use the washroom? And he was like, is it really urgent? And I was like, yeah, it's really urgent. So I'm there with my hand partially slotted, and I really want to use the washroom, because at that moment my stomach was even more painful. My stomach was bothering me more than the finger. So I asked the doctor, can I use the washroom, and will it affect the time to attach my finger back, my flash back? And he said that, yeah, you go ahead, go to the washroom. So I go to the washroom, and then he saw my finger, and he was like, okay, you will need to rush to the hospital, because it looks like the wound is really deep and it might have hit your bone. So I might have slotted my bone together. So that was not something good for me to hear. So what the nurse did was, she wrapped my finger. The doctor gave me a jab. It's like a painkiller for me to last all the way to the hospital, and he wrote a referral letter for me to be rushed to the hospital. So I was hungry, my stomach was bothering me, and I need to go to the hospital. So my father bought me a bun, because I did not eat in the morning. So yeah, I always have this habit where I don't eat in the morning and then I do my work, which is a lesson learned. Please eat in the morning so that it gives you energy, and if this kind of thing happens, you have the energy to fight it. So yeah, lesson learned, eat before you do anything else in the morning. So yeah. So what happened next was my father and my brother rushed me to the hospital. My brother was driving the car like crazy and he was super fast, really driving crazy speed. In his mind, he was thinking that my whole finger was detached. So he thought that I lost my whole finger from my hand. So in his mind, he was thinking that in the plastic bag was my finger. But what he didn't know was my flesh was still on my finger. My flesh is still there because I had remaining flesh which was not sliced from my entire finger, right? So he did not know that. Poor guy, he rushed me. He was driving crazy fast and we reached the hospital and I was rushed to the emergency zone. So we went in and yeah, before we get there, when I reached the hospital, I saw my auntie waiting for me there and I was like shocked to see her. Thank you so much to my auntie who is watching this video as well. You know who you are. So she came to the hospital. She helped to make sure that everything was smooth for me and I was taken good care of. So yeah, thanks to her for coming to the hospital to help me with my situation. So I went to the hospital and then they gave me another jab. They checked my pressure and then I met with the doctor. She saw the wound and then she got a specialist to attend to me for these stitches. The doctor, he came and then he saw my finger. He told me that it's all fine and it did not hit my bone, and he did the stitches for me and then we had some chit chat session. He gave me the jab to numb my finger and that is why I was able to have a chit chat with him. So he was talking to me about my job to distract me with the situation that he's doing. He's literally stitching my finger while I'm awake but I could not feel it. So I can see that he was stitching my finger, putting a knot on my finger. So while he was doing that, he was having a chat with me. So after all of that, he gave me a big wrap on my finger with the stitches and he told me that do you want to get admitted or do you want to go back home? And I was like, I want to go back home because we have prayers at home and I didn't want to miss the prayers. So I know health is everything, but I was in that situation where it was Deepavali Eve and in another few more hours it's going to be Deepavali and I don't want to be in the hospital and I want to spend the day with my father and my brothers, of course. So I chose to go back home. So after everything, I went back home and then I had to meet the doctor after a week later for him to see my stitches. He said that it is getting better and it is still wet, so he could not take out the stitches. Then after another week later, I went and visited the doctor. He removed the stitches. I had problem to bend my finger and now I can bend my finger. Everything is back to normal. It is still in the healing process and I waited for my finger to be better so that I can make this video. And I'm so sorry for not posting a lot of stories on my channel yet. I'll try to get into that. I'll try to be more active. I'm still new to all of this and thank you so much for your time to listen to my story. All I can tell from this story is that one, please be careful. Whatever it is, please be careful and don't get very carried away in the kitchen with any appliances at all. Please be careful with everything that you use in the kitchen. So that's all for my story time today. Till we meet again for another story. Till that, bye bye.